back at MGM, there were also difficulties with live action that no one had foreseen.
I won't mention any names, but I would find that some guest artists would do some amazing things. You know, the director would say, pick up the telephone and answer it and say, da, 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 da. And they would then freeze in the middle of the take and say, why is this telephone red? I mean, should I respond differently because it's red? And what is my motivation? And what am I thinking about? You know, so that used to kind of gum up the works a wee bit.
One thing I disliked intensely was it would happen occasionally, was that people would take the Mickey out of it, is the expression, you know, and come in and say, oh, wow, you're just puppets with no strings. That used to really annoy the hell out of me. We had a couple of guest artists who will remain nameless who came in and just thought, you know, this was a Mickey Mouse situation. And I've never done that in my 30-year professional life. If I didn't like the job, I wouldn't do it. The day that I have to do something simply because of the money, and those people were there just for the money, I felt sorry for that. It angered me a little bit.
Most of the regular cast, though, were happy with their parts, with Vladek Sheybal being called back frequently to reprise his role as the sinister Dr. Doug Jackson.
Now, listen carefully. As I see it, the main problem will be panic when the helmet is removed. Colonel Foster has been breathing liquid for some hours now. Drugs will have been used to help his lungs adapt. Now, when we attempt to reverse to normal, the physical experience will be similar to drowning. Unless this moment is carefully controlled, the patient could go into convulsion and possibly choke.
So I was only from time to time jumping into this Dr. Jackson. I never knew exactly who was Dr. Jackson, but somehow perhaps the actor's intuition, and that I developed him into something that people remember me and recognize me. I didn't know that you could be typecast here. But then later on, I met the great Bette Davis, and she told me one thing, you know, you've got to find yourself a niche. You call it typecasting. She was calling it the niche. And I said, what will be your niche? Because she said, you have no chance. You have no chance, none whatsoever here. You are too old, you don't know anybody in the business properly, you are not beautiful, but you've got two things, you've got your eyes and your voice, and you've got to base this on that. Let me think about it. And she said, well, of course I saw you in From Russia with Love. You must make for yourself a niche as a villain, but a special villain, you know, elegant, threatening. It's very easy, she said. You just narrow your eyes, you lower your voice, you make long pauses, and you speak like that, and you're a villain.
I ought to knock that smile right back down.
Yes, things are not always what they seem to be, Mr. Foster. Okay.
The production machine rolled on, with many members of the regular cast appearing and disappearing. One such actor was Mark Bradley, played by Harry Baird.
Mark, I'm sure you realize how important this base is. It's a vital link in our defense system. Now, whoever commands it has got one of the most responsible jobs in SHADO. I'd like you to consider it, Mark.
Are you offering me the job, sir?
Yes. Does that surprise you?
Not altogether. And does it surprise you if I say no?
Disappoints me.
Well, you've done your duty. You've asked. And I've given you the no you wanted.
What do you mean, I've done my duty?
Sure. After Foster, I'm the senior man. The obvious choice, if you like.
So, I offer you the command of Moonbase, and you say no. Why? I asked you why.
Because of this.
Oh, don't give me that. Racial prejudice burned itself out 5 years ago.
How would you know? All right. On the surface, maybe. But deep down inside of people, it's still there. Maybe it will never show. And maybe it will. Like sometime I'm ordering a guy out on a mission. A time the chances are he won't be coming back.
Look, I'm not offering you some easy number. And I don't care if you're a polka dot with red stripes. You're the best man for the job. Now, do you want it? Do you want it?
Yes, sir. I would like it. But not like this.
No one wanted it like this.
I've always felt that people who are in minority groups can suffer pretty badly as a result of ignorance. And at the time UFO was made, blacks were being treated pretty badly, and they were being held back. And I took every opportunity to make the point in the films.
You get some rest, Commander.
I mean, I can tell you, going back to Supercar, where we had black puppets, and we had to cut the films and reshoot them with white puppets because of objections that came from the southern states of America. So I can tell you I was very aware of the unfairness at the time.
A major part of the series' design was incorporated in the clothing created by Sylvia Anderson's Century 21 fashions. But the memorable style was not without its critics.
I personally didn't like the costumes very much. I have a physical thing that I can't have anything next to my skin except, you know, cashmere or something incredibly soft. But I hated things which come up around here. I can't stand it. And we always had to wear this. Obviously, they're not going to take any notice of me and say, well, okay, we'll make it of cashmere. But so I had to wear this cruddy wool stuff around me. And I used to, as soon as the camera had stopped, I would run away and pull it away and let the air get to it, or take it off and say, can we go in maybe 10 minutes' time? I just can't stand it. It's a bit daft, I know, but if you feel that badly, it means a lot to you at that time.
I thought that they were very easy to work with and very imaginative. And I don't have a very good clothes sense, as you may see by looking at me. I figure that if you're, you know, presentable, that's about it. But I can remember when Sylvia took us down to be outfitted and measured and all the rest of our thing, and I was wearing a bow tie. I'll never forget this. She said, Ed, I'm going to buy you a tie. And she bought me a necktie. It says, here. She said, I never want to see that bow tie again. But she had a fantastic sense of fashion and color, Sylvia did, and matching the colors on the set and costume and even people. You know, all the extras were handpicked by her. The girls who were sitting at the consoles who worked out more or less semi-permanent. She had a wonderful eye for that, and I trusted her implicitly in that. And I figured that if Sylvia picked it out for me, I must look good.
They were very difficult, but very beautiful, I think, to look at. If the brain said, you know, I want to go to the men's room or the girls' room or whatever room, then you had to go, well, once the red was off at the studio, then you had to go immediately. I told a lot of girls that came in, and get out of your costume and do what comes naturally. And it was very difficult to get in and out of them, but once you were in them, you felt great.
What is it?
An underwater craft, sir. Moving ahead of us.
Altering course. Veering to starboard.
The thought of being in a submarine to me was unbelievable. I mean, you'd never get me down there for a start, to sit on the bottom of the ocean. I think it's terribly sneaky, don't you? Sneaking up on people under the water. You know, the script left my mind, and I went into orbit, and I thought, my God, being in a submarine. And then you had to sort of bring yourself to and sort of remember you're not actually going to be in a submarine deep down under so many fathoms deep. You're going to be in a studio, and you're going to sort of go from there. and get yourself acting, baby.
All set. Good. Synchronized watches. 15:50. Check.
Check.
Now we'll blow the hatch in 5 minutes, Lieutenant. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. See you topside.
But still, it's still a claustrophobic atmosphere. You know, it's the long 40-foot tube. It's too small. I have the cylinders on my back that they hadn't sort of measured for. No fault of theirs. I should imagine me possibly putting on a parachute. I don't know. And it really was scary. I think it was more scary than I would find being so many fathoms and seeing us up.
10 seconds. Detonate.
Well, they should be up by now.
Since the early puppet series, the Andersons' work had become an attractive commodity on the American market. However, success on the American network had its penalties.
ITC New York never left us alone. They had a very powerful secret weapon. They knew that the American market accounted for 60% of the total monies taken in the entire world. And so therefore Lou Grade was obviously paranoid about the shows being acceptable to the States. So it was all too easy for them to say, this is not acceptable in the States, or you really should do it this way because it's the sort of thing American people would like to see. And I really had no way of knowing whether what they were saying was true, or whether it was simply that, you know, they were expressing a personal preference cloaked in this desire to make the program acceptable to the States. Perhaps the answer is that it was a bit of both.
After 17 episodes, there was a break in production, and the opportunity was taken to evaluate the progress of the series. So far, many of the episodes had dealt with adult issues, including Straker's failed marriage and the subsequent death of his son.
You just came running out.
Johnny!
Oddly enough, I was heavily criticised for that, particularly by ITC in New York, who kind of reacted by saying, oh, look, you know, come on, we're dealing with married life, for God's sake. I mean, this is a science fiction series. Whereas on other episodes, they had equally said, where are the people, you know? The shows have lots of hardware flying around and people shooting guns. Where are the people?
There's been a delay. The drug will be here as soon as possible. Yes, I know. I know. Look, I'd like to explain to Mary.
Been delayed.
Yes. But important. What can be more important than your own son's life?
Listen, Mary, please, it's not like that. You don't understand.
No! No, I don't understand. I'll never understand.
Mary, listen to me. Mary.
I suppose it was a story that was particularly close to my heart because as a married man and as a father, I always found it very difficult to know, where one's priorities should be. It's 8 o'clock at night and it's the little boy's birthday, for instance, and somebody comes in and says, unless we rewrite this script overnight, production will stop tomorrow morning. What do you do? I mean, either way, you're going to be a villain. And so this particular story dealt with Ed Straker, who had a sick child, and an emergency with SHADO that he was in control of, and he was torn apart. And so, as I say, it was an episode that was very close to my heart. And I liked it. I thought it dealt with not only hardware, but people and their problems.
Mary.
I never want to see you again.
With the halt in production lasting a number of months, the MGM studios at Borehamwood closed.
During the hiatus there, 4 to 5 months, whatever it was, they got some new directors in, and I think they employed some new writers, directors who had a long track record with series, and they were hack directors with a capital H. These are guys who could look at a printed page who had worked on all kinds of ITC series. They were series men, and very good directors they were, and they just moved everything along faster.
Filming recommenced 6 months later at Pinewood Studios, but without some of the original cast. George Sewell had left to be replaced later by Wanda Ventham, reestablishing her role as Colonel Lake from the first episode. And on Moonbase, Dolores Mantez took over, filling the void left by the departure of Gabrielle Drake. The pacing of the episodes became noticeably faster.
There was another thing too, and that was that an assistant director by the name of Dave Tomlin wrote some of the scripts. And Ken Turner, who was always anxious to make fairly zany pictures, they came to the fore, and I think that they probably helped the last episodes to be somewhat different.
Even when we saw the spacemen, we'd no idea, no sense at all of the terrible danger we were in.
What were they doing?
They were digging a sort of hole in the floor, burying something. And there was this cylinder.
Cylinder?
Yes, like a mechanism. Tim picked it up, and then he threw it to me.
And this device belonged to the aliens?
Yes, they wanted it back. They chased us. But to Tim and I, it was just a fantastic game. We weren't afraid of anything. Tim even encouraged them to join in.
I'm always surprised when people say to me that there were 1 or 2 episodes which were drug-related. And I have to say that I must have been very innocent or daft, or perhaps both, because it's something I never actually realized. And had I realized it, I wouldn't have permitted it.
What is that stuff?
X50. It speeds you up to 10 times normal. Heart, muscles, brain, coordination. They use it a lot in the early high-G test flights, finally banned it as being too dangerous.
Why?
Well, it burned people out. If we weren't under the evil eye now, we'd be moving so fast we'd just be a blur.
During this second production block, even the concept of the aliens was developed further.
As you're well aware, up until now we've all believed they were humanoid, a dying race, keeping themselves alive by transplanting our organs into their bodies. The alien I examined this morning, I think his whole body was human.
His brain?
Even his brain.
You mean he was one of us?
Outwardly, yes. It's possible that these creatures are not humanoid at all. They just use our bodies, erase from the brain all knowledge, wipe it clean and reprogram it with, or transmit to it their own thought patterns, their own intelligence.
But why?
That I don't know. It could be they aren't capable of traveling in space. The form of life they take, I can't begin to imagine. They may have no physical being at all, and therefore need a vehicle, a container, our bodies.
We just got going. The latter programs showed that. The artists got going, we got going as directors, the special effects, everything just keyed in.
All mobiles stand by for rapid fire. All mobiles, fire.
I was filming The Protectors in Salzburg when I received a telex in those days from ITC New York to say that for 17 consecutive weeks UFO had been leading the ratings in New York and Los Angeles. And I knew that this was going to signal a second series.
I was in LA when I think Sylvia dropped me a note saying we were getting into early production because CBS had almost picked up their option.
And we went into production to start a second series of UFO, and indeed the moon base on Space 1999 was the one we designed for the new series of UFO. It was going to have this big new base and everything was going to be that much more advanced and bigger production values and so on.
The initial discussions were about the possibility of making a new series of UFO. I hadn't worked on UFO, I hadn't known Jerry, I hadn't really even watched UFO very much. And I made that very clear to Jerry. I wasn't even at that time interested very much in science fiction.
Set 19 years after the original series, the second series, UFO 1999, was to see the war with the aliens escalate. SHADO Moonbase, now vastly enlarged and called Alpha Moonbase, housed a fleet of Eagle interceptors in massive hangars below the moon's surface. While the story continued to develop in England, the situation in America took a turn for the worse.
I would go to America, and as I came out of the customs hall, there would be the president with his chubby round face waving and smiling, and I would think, oh yes, the shows are doing well, you know, and he'd join me and there would be a whacking great Fleetwood saloon outside, and, you know, yes, indeed, the shows were selling well. And then on another occasion, I would come out of the customs hall and there would be nobody there at all. Get yourself a yellow cab, Jerry. Get to the hotel and ring ITC and say, I'm here. And they would say, yeah, we're busy. Can you come in tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? And then I knew that that particular show wasn't doing so well.
There came a point where it became clear that we were not working on a new series of UFO. but it was going to transform into a new series which would be set in space.
And I remember going to Lou and saying, look, you have invested a huge sum of money in this show, and it's been cancelled. Why don't I switch things around and give it a new title and make it into something different? And that's how Space 1999 was born.